Retro racing reports from the super track of Saugus Speedway. June 11th, 1988 is the day of this event, and it's welcome back to Saugus Speedway to Bobby Allison. We have NASCAR Sportsman, MSRA Mini Stocks, NASCAR Hobby Stocks, Figure Eights only, plus a train race on this night of June 11th, 1988. Be sure to subscribe and like and put your comments down below. And I'm sure many of you guys were there, so comments are very welcome. This is a return of Bobby Allison to Saugus Speedway. He'd come out a couple of times. There's a nice long article in here about it, and that's what we're going to cover. I also have the program from the following week with the results of this particular night. We'll start off with a story, I believe by Lynn Farrago, from June 11th, 1988 at Saugus Speedway. Bobby Allison, champion of champions. The story of Allison's prestigious career began in February 1955. Eisenhower was the president. Milton Berle was entertaining America on a new device called television, and Paul Brown had just led the Cleveland Browns to the NFL title with a 56-10 romp over the Detroit Lions. On that Saturday night in February of '55, a lanky 17-year-old named Bob Sunderman climbed into a race car to compete for his first ever event at a small track in Hialeah, Florida. Well, the Cleveland Browns and Milton Berle are no longer prominent. 6 more presidents have resided in the White House, and countless other changes have taken place in a 33-year span. But Bob Sunderman is still going strong as one of the biggest names in American motorsports. The name Bob Sunderman was an alias. Today, Bobby Allison isn't trying to hide his racing career from his parents. In February of '88, Allison again climbed behind the wheel of a race car in Florida and won his 3rd Daytona 500 event. In 1983, driving the Team Miller Buick, Allison won the coveted Grand National Drivers' Championship. He's been named NASCAR's most popular driver 6 times. In his more than 3 decades of racing, Allison has become the busiest as well as the most versatile driver to sit behind the wheel of a speedy race car. Allison competes in nearly 100 racing events each year, including his 30-race Winston Cup series. His agenda regularly includes several consecutive nights of competition, which clearly demonstrates the versatility and adaptability of the undisputed leader of NASCAR's famous Alabama gang. It's not uncommon for Allison to compete in several events in different states and in different types of cars, all in the space of one weekend. Well, it's all in a weekend's work, claims Allison. It's just typical of the hectic schedule I try to keep during the racing season. I enjoy all the travel, and sometimes I feel like I could race for 7 days straight. Travel gives me the opportunity to accomplish 2 things and at the same time make an honest living. It gives me the chance to enjoy flying, my favorite leisure activity, and the opportunity to get around most of the country and mingle with the great race fans. The people from all the little tracks and the other short track circuits have helped me to achieve the recognition that I enjoy today. I'm happy to be able to get out and try to help put on a show for them. I will always try to maintain a hefty short track schedule in addition to my Winston Cup program. Like Allison, Saugus Speedway also has a distinguished history. Built in the mid-20s, as a rodeo stadium, it began its era of auto racing in the late 30s. During the 40s and the 50s, it was the domain of the mighty midgets, with rodeos and an occasional circus filling the bill. On September 9, 1945, it was the scene of the first post-war race on the West Coast, an event which was won by the great Billy Vukovich. In the late 50s, the track was paved and stock car racing began its current string, which has reached 30 consecutive years. Next year, 1989, will mark the 50th year of automotive competitive events at Saugus Speedway. The allure of competing against Allison is expected to draw many top drivers and racing teams to Saugus next Saturday night. I must remember to ask Bobby about another Allison, scheduled to be among 8 Winston Cup drivers competing in the Race of Champions event at Saugus next month in July. His name is, Davey. I wonder if Bobby can tell us anything about that guy. That's a great little story written by Lynn Farrago for the program of June 11th, 1988. And of course, they ran the event. Here we go. Program story from June 18th, 1988, along with a few images from this program. Again, story by Lynn Farrago. Super track scene. Allison scores win in Saugus return. Bobby Allison, longtime NASCAR superstar, drove to a Winston Racing Series sportsman event victory in a return engagement Saturday night at Saugus Speedway. In 1985, Allison competed in an open comp modified race, finishing 4th behind 3 Saugus Speedway champions. On that night, Dan Press looked and proved to be unbeatable, as Jim Thurkettle took 2nd, Kenny Sapper was 3rd, just ahead of Allison. Flying into Van Nuys Airport in his Piper twin-engine aircraft, Allison arrived around 7 o'clock, and after only 5 laps of practice in the Nancy DeLong Firebird, he set 3rd fastest qualifying time. To the delight of many fans, Allison won the opening 4-lap trophy dash, going to the outside for the lead as the 2 front runners collided in turn 3 of the 3rd lap. Allison put in another solid performance, running 3rd in the heat race behind point leader Dave Phipps and Rich DeLong, driving his own backup car. Rusty Parr, fast qualifier, and Jeffrey Phillips started out front for the 40-lap Winston event, with Allison inside on the 2nd row. On the last pace lap just before the start, Parr's car backfired and died, forcing him to the pits. The revised lineup put Phillips on the pole and Allison outside the front row. Allison stayed side by side with Phillips on the start and nudged out ahead as they completed lap 2. Going into turn 1, Phillips spun, bringing out the first of 6 yellow caution flags. Michael Ayers assumed 2nd place with Phipps in 3rd as Allison led them in the race back to the yellow. On a restart, Allison started pulling away, with Phipps getting by Ayers on the 5th circuit and setting out after the leader. Another yellow came out on lap 8 for a spun car, and on the restart, Phipps stayed close enough for a few laps as they both pulled away from the field. Then Allison drew out to a couple of car lengths lead. The same scenario repeated itself through several more yellows for minor incidents. A final yellow flag came out on lap 29, and on the restart, Phipps stayed right on the rear of Allison. He bumped Allison several times, and Allison's car seemed to slow. Several times, Allison's car got pretty loose in the corner, and at one point, Phipps got underneath him down the front stretch. However, Allison held Phipps off and went on to the narrow victory. Craig Rayburn finished 3rd ahead of DeLong, Arlen Olson, and Roger Theobald. Allison, famous for her sojourns to short track facilities all around the nation, spent nearly 45 minutes signing autographs for many of the 4,500 fans in attendance. A great story by our old friend Lynn Farrago. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below.